Hello everybody and welcome to our Q&A. I did one of these a few weeks back in, I believe, like February, and I didn't get to answer all of the questions, so I decided to come back on here and revisit some of those questions and answer as many as I can today. So the first one seems to be a very common one, and that is, what is your current sleep schedule for the twins? So right now, bedtime is from 7 to right now bedtime is from 7:30 to around 8 p.m. It used to be at 7 sharp, sometimes even 6:30, but after daylight savings we just did not want to deal with going 15-minute increments or whatever to get it back on track, so we just let it be because summer is coming. You know, it's a lot lighter outside for a lot longer, and I don't want them to have like a struggle to fall asleep just because it's so bright outside, and that way we can stay out during the summer for longer in the evenings. Once they go to bed around 11 to 12 a.m., 11 p.m. to 12 p.m., they'll have a waking where I'll give them a bottle, and after the bottle they usually just go back to sleep. But if they go back to sleep in their cribs, which is not a problem for them, they'll be waking up constantly throughout the night, and they'll just wake up just to see if I'm there. And if I'm not there, they will legit wake up every single hour so that I could be right there with them. So I'll be running in and out to their room all through the night. But if I take them to my bed and give them a bottle there, they'll pass out and only wake up around like 6 in the morning for another bottle. And that's kind of why I co-sleep with them. My husband used to sleep with us and then he decided his quality of sleep is a lot more important than sleeping all together in one bed, especially as they got bigger and started taking up a lot of the bed. We don't know how long that's gonna be since they co-sleep, and that's been happening for, I think it's been 8 months now. Nothing's gonna last forever, and this too shall pass, and they will grow up and eventually will be okay with sleeping on their own together in one room. He actually used to sleep in our guest room, but we had his cousin from Ukraine lived there for a few months, so he moved into the living room. And then once they moved out, which was only about 2 weeks ago, I wanted to make that room into a playroom again, and that bed was just not doing it for me in there. It has sharp corners, it's dangerous, and then the room just looks weird with just a bed and a ton of toys around it. So I finally come to a decision after a week of just thinking about it that we're removing the bed out of there. So that means he's gonna continue sleeping on the couch until we get the twins to sleep through the night, at least for 4 or 5 hour stretches without waking up because I'm not there. But yeah, that's our life. Next question is, have they started speaking? So they actually started saying a lot of words, and it is the cutest thing to see how they try to pronounce these words. So obviously they say the basics: mom, dad, uncle, aunt. The funniest one is cheese. So I speak in Russian to them, so I'll be like, hey, do you want sir? Because sir, you know, in Russian is cheese, and they'll be like, cheese, cheese, cheese. And it's as if they're saying cheese in English, but I've never referred to it as cheese in English. I've always called it sir. So I don't know if that's just their way of saying it and if it'll fix itself or not, but it's the cutest thing, and nobody taught them that. Same thing with here and give me. Here is na in Russian, give me is dai, and every time we give them something we're like na, na, na. So they're used to, like, when we get our hand there, you know, to give them something, when they want something now they say na, as in like give me, but na is actually here you go. So they got those two mixed up as well, which we're working on trying to explain it to them. Also things like they'll say the dog's name, and they'll say like coat, kurtka, you know, kurtka, to like go outside. Like they'll say coat, they'll say like shoes in the way they say it. Squirrel, cat, fish, they say geeky. I think it's in my last vlog, they say fish a lot in that vlog. And then just a couple days ago they started saying avocado, and just a lot of things they just start repeating. And when you ask them to do it, they don't do it, but then like you'll say it and they'll repeat it. It's very rare that they'll actually repeat something that you ask them to repeat. I feel like all kids are like that. They make the sound of the elephant. They know how to say like nyam nyam, like give me food. Obviously it's all still baby language, so it's not full on words, but yeah, it's the cutest thing because now they can actually communicate with us and tell us exactly what they want. and I love it. I love this stage. It's so fun. Do the twins fight? Yes, they do. It's not super often. They get along more than they fight, but when they do fight, it's mainly for a toy that they want. And then Kane gets a little aggressive and even bites and like will push her over sometimes. Anyways, it's not fun. They're learning and it'll get better. This is temporary. I feel like from a very young age, they already like have it in them to share. There's just some things they're not willing to compromise, and we have to help them out and like navigate them through those situations. But yeah, they have a lot of cute moments too. Like if one of them drops their pacifier, the other will like pick it up and like come and bring it to them like nah. Or when one is crying, the other will go grab a pacifier and like bring it and like try to put it in their mouth like nah, like it's okay, be quiet. Next question. Where are you and your husband from, and where do you live? We live in Washington State right now, but we are both, ironically, from Moldova. We were both born there. I came here when I was only 2, and he came here when he was 8, maybe 9, I'm not sure. So yeah, we're both from there, and we kind of came here at completely different years. Like I think I came here in 2000 and he got here in 2006. 6 years apart, and somehow we still ended up meeting. How do you shower having 2 babies? So around 4 months and like a little bit younger, around that age, I would usually just put them in the Snuggle Me loungers, put them to sleep, and once they were asleep, I would go take a shower. But at that age, they wake up like every like 10-15 minutes. Like they don't sleep like super long stretches. So they would wake up and like fuss. I just took the Snuggle Me's and put them on the floor outside the door of the shower and would just take a shower. And they were able to see me, so they were fine. Like they didn't cry or anything because they saw me. And then once they got a little bit older, I did that same thing with bouncers. That way they're actually sitting. And then once they started crawling, I actually shoved them into the, I didn't shove them, that's way too aggressive of a word, but I placed them into the bathtub that's right there in front of the shower, and they just kind of hung out in there. I gave them some toys and they just played because they couldn't really stand yet or anything. They just like crawled around, like sat, and I took a shower like that. And then now they just roam around the bathroom if I need to take a shower while they're awake. And yeah, just explore, just look at me, knock on the door, try to get in. They got in a few times, got wet, whatever. I got out and like changed them, so we all kind of took a shower. I try to do it mostly while they're napping or later in the evening once I've put them to bed, but even that is not always a guarantee, and they might wake up mid-shower and you just kind of rinse off and like run out, and you're like half wet, and you like bring them into the bathroom. I'll like put them on the floor. They'll hang out while I like dry off and get ready. It's chaos sometimes, but you gotta do it. What, are you gonna not take a shower? What are their current weights? I think I answered this last time and they were 19 pounds in my previous video. Now we ended up going to the doctors with Kane for an infection he had, and they weighed him and he was exactly 22 pounds. So in the span of almost 5 months, he gained only like 3 pounds. And then I haven't weighed Grace yet because we haven't been at their pediatricians in a little bit, but she definitely feels lighter than him. So I want to guess and say she's like 21 pounds, probably maybe 20 and a half pounds, somewhere around there. It's so weird to me because my babies are so small and people are always like, how are you picking them up like together? I can't do it with my 7-8 month old babies. And they're like, they're only 23 pounds. And I'm like, whoa, like my kids are almost 2 years old and they're not even 23 pounds yet. They probably will be by 2, but like they don't gain weight as much as like normal babies. And by normal, I mean like the majority of babies. They're just very light, and they're not like super skinny. Like they look healthy and they eat really good. They have a really good appetite too, so genetics, I guess. The kids always dress so nice. How do you afford it all? So I buy a lot of their things myself, but having the following that I have, I get a lot of clothes sent to me for free from companies just for story shares, posts, videos, whatever the company wants, I guess. And this actually, in last March of 2022, one of my videos went pretty viral and got like 14 million views. And my following went from like 5,000 to over 30,000 in the span of 2 weeks. I was like mind blown. Fortunately for me, because of that, a lot of companies started reaching out and wanting to send free clothes for me. And being a twin mom and needing that stuff and knowing how expensive baby clothes is, I agreed, like, I'll do it. Send me the clothes. I know a lot of people charge to even promote companies on top of getting the free clothes, but at that point I was like, I need it. Send it over. Also recently I started shopping at AliExpress for like I'll shop a little bit in advance just because of shipping and how kind of long it takes from AliExpress. It only takes about a month, which is not an eternity, but it's longer than your average shipping somewhere locally or around the United States. I started buying some stuff there for a lot cheaper. I get a lot of clothes for like the house, pajamas, all this stuff for a lot cheaper on AliExpress. Can you teach us how to bathe our twins? I can't do it. This is a fun one because I didn't bathe them together. I bathed them separately from the very beginning. I bathed them in my laundry. I have a pretty large laundry sink, and so their little baby bathtub actually fit into the laundry sink, and I would pour water into the bathtub, and then I would have a Snuggle Me lounger right next to the laundry sink. I have like a countertop there, and so I put towels under it, put the Snuggle Me, put the baby in there, and then I would bathe one baby. And while I'm bathing this baby, that baby is going nuts because they want attention. So I'm like bathing this baby while trying to like entertain the other baby, but also like trying to focus on actually bathing the baby. And then I would do it super quick. I'd like bathe and then like get him dry and dressed as soon as I can because that baby is crying, and then switch spots. And then now I'm bathing this baby, but this baby is going crazy. So I'm like here and here and trying to do this as fast as I can, like literally sweating buckets because I'm like so stressed out, and like all this crying is like in my head. It's nuts just even thinking about it. But that's how I did it, and 98% of the time it was just me by myself. Like, it was pretty rare, but it did happen a couple times where my husband came home earlier and he would entertain one of the babies or sit with him downstairs while I bathed one and then switch off. So that was very helpful, and those baths were literally a dream because I would actually bathe them and like let them sit in the water and talk to them. And anyway, so when people say, I've got comments on not one, but multiple videos I posted like how I bathe them on my Instagram, and I've had comments where people are like, you're such a bad mom, like you can tell you're not talking to them, kids need interaction and like to see your facial expression. I'm just like, do you even know what's going on behind the scenes? Like, you can't hear it because it's covered with music, but like that baby is crying. I am trying my best to finish as fast as I can so I could switch off and then just be able to just hang out with them in a room together, and that's it. So that's that. You really don't know what's going on in the background in a lot of these videos, and you're only seeing a little snippet of their life, so please be careful in what you say. It doesn't bother me anymore. I feel like I got so used to comments like that, and I'm just like, whatever. Like, you really know nothing about me or my situation, and I'm just doing my best. Yes, I'm filming. This is more for me and my memories and my kids' memories, because that first year is literally a blur. I don't remember anything. I was so exhausted. There are certain things I do remember very vividly, but a lot of things, like all these little details, like I don't even really remember. And so having these videos to look back on, I'm like, wow, like that happened. I did this. This is how I did it. And I was just like shocked myself. So I don't regret doing these videos at all. How do you handle twins by yourself? I never know how to answer this question, because how do you not? Like, it's hard. It's definitely hard, but you don't have a choice. And when you don't have a choice, you just do it. You just naturally do it. And that's it. You just do it. Your motherly instincts kick in. you know there's nobody else to help you. Like, these kids are relying on you, and you just kind of go into this mode where you just make it happen, you just make it work, and that's it. It's the beauty of motherhood. Did you plan to have twins? How can you plan to have twins? I'm not sure. I know our whole marriage, and even before we were married, my husband always told me that he wanted twins. And then when we were married, we had a few years of like infertility and struggling to get pregnant. And every time people would ask, when are you having kids? When are you having kids? And you need to catch up. And my husband would always be like, don't worry about us. Like, we're just gonna have twins and we'll catch up to all of you, you know? And yeah, a few years later, here we are with twins. So words have power. Also, there's a lot that goes behind that story that I haven't shared yet. And I actually filmed this Q&A a few days ago. I decided to refilm it, but in that video, for some reason, I started going into kind of the backstory, and I thought I was ready to share it, but clearly I was not. So maybe in a few more weeks. Like, the kids are almost 2, and I feel like I'm ready to share it, but then when I start talking about it, I get a little bit emotional, and I'm just not at that point yet where I want to show that side of me to other people. So maybe I'll do it with like my husband with me, so that he can ground me a little bit, because that's kind of how he is. Every time I am like overthinking something or some comment gets to me, he always reminds me and gets me back to earth and like straightens it out and like gets me back on track and like clears my head. So yeah, I love you, baby, if you're watching this. Yeah, so this is the end of this Q&A. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I think the last one was like 20 minutes long, and hopefully I answered some of your questions and you got to know us a little bit better. If you guys have any more questions, comment them below. Follow me on Instagram. You can DM me on there as well, so I can answer those questions. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.